Okay, so hello my friends and welcome to another video. Today I've come up the mountain here to this lovely picnic area in the woods to talk to you about my camera and the rig that I have set up for it. Seeing as I've had a few questions recently, I thought this might be of interest to you. So in terms of the camera, firstly, this is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, the original one, not the Mark II or the G Pro or whatever they're called. I've sort of lost track of the latest upgrades. So this is the original 6K one, and it's not the most obvious choice for wildlife filming, but it is the choice that gave me the best quality for the budget that I had available to me, because things are a little bit tough at the moment, financially speaking, and this is what was in my budget. So I picked this one up because they were about to bring out a newer model. They had special offer on this one, so I picked it up for £1,600, I think. So it was a really good deal, especially given the quality that of the image that it gives. So that was the main reason for me buying it. The second reason was that I didn't have to invest in any new glass because it is an EF mount. So that meant I could use all my Canon glass on it without having to invest in a whole new lens kit. The third and very persuasive argument for me to buy this camera was the image quality. It is a Netflix approved camera, and that should tell you something about the quality of the image. It has the kind of codecs that are suitable for those purposes. It has ProRes 422, it has Blackmagic RAW, which I absolutely love, and it is a joy to edit and to color grade, especially through DaVinci. So yeah, like I said, the image quality is superb. Another persuading factor for me for this camera was that, given the codecs and the formats the choices of codec and format that it gives you to shoot in, meant that there are certain crops applied to those. And at the, hang on, let me get this right, at the 17:9 ratio 2.8K format, it gives over a 3 times crop factor, which means that on a 600mm like this, I'm out beyond 1800mm to 2000mm, which is a heck of a magnification. And for wildlife, that is invaluable for getting up close to animals and for getting frame filling shots. So that was another persuading factor for me. A couple of downsides with the extra magnification is, firstly, when I'm shooting in hot weather like it is here in Greece at the moment, there is you do get a lot of heat distortion in the lens, which is really difficult to overcome, and basically the only way to overcome it is to shoot in cooler conditions, which is only basically at dawn. So I'm fairly restricted by that. And the second thing is that at the huge magnifications, any wobble is massively exacerbated and exaggerated in the camera. So whether the wind is blowing or whether it's me, the slightest movement at my end makes a massive wobble in the image. So that's also an issue, so I have to be really careful and make sure everything is super stable when I mount it on the tripod. The other thing I really like about this camera is how intuitive it is to use. The menu system is fantastic. It's so easy to get through, find exactly what you need, and dial it in. Plus the fact that it has all the cinema camera features that you'd want. So I can set shutter angle, so I don't have to worry about setting shutter speeds. It has false color for exposure, and it has focus peaking as well, to assist with manual focusing, which I do 99.9% of the time. In fact, 100% of the time I do it on this camera, because the autofocus on here is not that good. In fact, it's pretty much non-existent. So those features as well also persuaded me that this was the way to go. And I have been very, very happy with the results that I've gotten from it. Results that have been broadcast on national TV in the US and Europe. So the quality is right up there. The other negatives with this, in terms of the way I shoot as well, for wildlife that is, would be firstly the battery life, which is terrible, but there are really good workarounds for it, namely power packs such as this Anton Bauer V-mount battery pack, which gives me an extra 4.5–5 hours of shooting. So with 2 of these I can be out in the field for 8–9 hours and not worry about battery life at all. The fact that there is no ND, built-in NDs, is an issue as well for exposure, because on this particular lens there is no slot at the back like on some of the expensive telephoto primes for putting filters in at the back, and the front element is too big to take any screw-on NDs. And I don't want to set up a matte box and all that on the end of the lens. And the other issue for me as well is that there is no LANC connection. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically a cable that you can run from your cinema camera down to the arm of your, the panning arm of the tripod, and it has a stop-start button on there, so that you don't have to remove your hand from the arm as you're working. You can just start recording, stop recording, instead of having to move your hand constantly, and it gives, basically it wipes out the first second or two on a recording because of the wobble that it creates from moving from your hand from the panning arm to the camera to start, and then back to the arm. So that would be a fantastic thing if I was able to solve that issue. But anyway, you, as with all things, you learn to work around the kit that you have and make the most of it. So moving on to the lens, this is the Sigma 60-600. It's a 4.5 to 6.3 lens, so it's not super fast, but it is a 10 times zoom lens, which for filming is an absolute joy to use. And I don't think, in fact, that there is any equivalent to it on the market in terms of the length of the zoom from 60 to 600 10 times. I think the only other option would be the Canon 20 times zoom, which is from 50 to 1000. Which most of the big professional wildlife filming productions use, but that also comes at a price of about £70,000, which is way beyond my budget. So this is what I have, and I absolutely love using it, and it pretty much lives on this camera. I probably shoot with this 90% of the time, and occasionally I'll switch it out for a wide 2470 or something along those lines. Okay, so that's my camera. Oh, and onto the camera I have attached the small rig cage for the Blackmagic, which helps me with this build out. So onto the build out. basically, the fact that this camera is so long and there's quite a bit of weight on it, I didn't want the lens mount to be too stressed by having either having the camera mounted on its foot and having all the weight of the body and all the attachments hanging off the lens mount, or the other way around. So I've built it out to give as much support to it as I can. And the first piece is this extended foot plate for the Manfrotto fluid head, which is 30 centimeters long, and it allows for me to be able to position the whole kit on the head to balance it and make sure that it's all balanced out on the tripod so that it's not falling either forward or backward. So that's the base of it. Onto this I mount the this small rig base plate, which is basically to hold the rods. These are the rods which go in and support the whole system. There's extensions to them as well, but I don't need it to be that long. But that's useful if you have an even longer setup and you want to attach, for example, if you had a V-mount battery that you were attaching to the rods, you'd need a longer setup. In my case, the V-mount, I put it underneath the camera between the plate and the camera. So let me just set that up and I'll get back to you again. One moment. Okay, so that's the battery mounted to the base plate and the base plate mounted to the Manfrotto replacement foot. Into that now I put the rods, which just slide in. So that's the rods attached as well. Onto the end of the rods, rather, before I do that, I forgot I need to slide. This is the tilter follow focus that I got. This allows me to make fine movements whilst focusing, and it's a lot more, what's the word, user-friendly, if you like, than actually trying to focus with your hand on the lens itself. Makes the whole thing a lot more stable to handle, and makes for less wobble, again, less camera shake. So I'll just slide that on first, and then I have this to support the lens, another small rig attachment, which basically slides onto the rods, and then you can maneuver this to the required height to support the lens. Let me just put that on. And then I can measure up exactly where I need it to be. So the camera just literally snaps on with the V-mount onto the battery, and then I can arrange this and tighten that up to support the lens. Okay, so now that's the lens fully supported. Because when I carry this, I carry it from the lens foot. When I lift it, it actually lifts off the lens support that I've put on it, and all the weight goes back onto the V-mount. So because I didn't want to be stressing the V-mount connection, just using this Velcro tape, I actually cinch the lens down onto the rods, holding it tight against the lens support, and that way when I carry it, it's actually supported by the lens support as well. Okay, the next thing I do is make sure that the follow focus is engaged on the focus ring. So I hold that tight against and then tighten it up onto the rod and make sure it runs smoothly, which it does. And that's all set up. I've also got a false battery with a D-tap cable which connects to the battery for the power. Onto the cage on the other side I have a little adapter, again by Small Rig, which holds the Samsung T5 solid state drive, SSD drive, so 1 terabyte drive. So that slots into there and tightens down, and I can run the cable then from the drive, which also has a tightener on it so that the cable doesn't get pulled out, and I can run that to the USB socket here on the side of the camera. So my drive is now connected, and the last thing I connect is my Portkeys Li EVF onto the little attachment here, and I run the HDMI cable to the HDMI socket here, and I'm good to go. So that is my camera rig all ready to go. So I hope you've found this of some use. If you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer anything that I can. I'll also link all these bits and bobs in the description below in case you're interested in checking those out. They are affiliate links, so I will make a tiny commission if you do use those links to buy something, but it won't be at any extra cost to yourselves. The other thing I wanted to mention as well is this little Small Rig tool, which I find absolutely invaluable, and it saves carrying around a bag of Allen keys. It's all in one nice little tool, so I'll link this in the description as well. So I hope you found that of interest. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you all again soon in another video. Bye for now.